Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Today we're learning Perek Bays of Sukkah. Today is the Yile Nishmas Aaron Nachum Sukkah Kohen Nishum Mordechai Ben Shefzel Brachas Tzavah Shmuel Leib and Abin Amash Ben Yosef and Ruchama Toiva Esther Bas Yaakov David Cohen. May the Shazal have an aliyah. And for Shlema for Ada Sarah Bas Leah Chana Pesel Bas Yente Swaban Rachalea Racha Bas Pesel Zelda Aram Yisach Ben Risha Chayavas David Bela but for Shlema Sel Shechal Yisrael and as a schus for Naftali Tzvi Ben Rivka Blima Aaron Levi Ben Aaron David Halevi and Shalom Yehuda Ben Chayas Mendel Shefer Bracha Bas Lacha Ruchnius Ubegashmius. Amen. Okay. Perek Beis Mishnah Aleph, continuing more about the halachas of sukkah. Hayashin takas semita b'sukkah liyatsi de chavaso. One who sleeps under a bed in a kosher sukkah has not fulfilled his obligation of living in a sukkah because he is there's a barrier between him and the schach. Amar Yehuda, Yehuda says. Excuse me. No, again, it was our minig, it was our practice that we would sleep under the bed in the sukkah in the presence of the chachamim. And they did not say anything to us to protest, thereby implying that one who sleeps under a bed does fulfill his obligation. Fine. Amar Rabbi Shimon says, "Ma'aseh b'tevi avda so Gamliel shaya yashin takas mita." There was once an incident in which Tavi, from Gamliel's Evan sleeping under bed in a sukkah. This was a famous Tavi that we learned about in Brachas and other Masechtas. Amar lahem Gamliel the Zakanim. And Gamliel said to the Zakanim, Tavi Avdi, have you seen how wise my slave Tavi behaves? He's a Torah scholar who knows that slaves are pater from the mitzvah of living in the sukkah because they have the same status as women, and women are pater from mitzvah asish as grandma. Therefore, he sleeps under the bed in order to make room for those who are chayiv in sukkah. And based on this comment, which I'm going to made in casual conversation with the chachamim, we learn in passing. We learn in passing that one who sleeps under a bed in a sukkah has not fulfilled his obligation. Mishnah Beis. That one supports the schach of his sukkah with the boards of a bed, then the sukkah is kosher. Like a sukkah is like get the size of the bed and like the end board, like the headboard of the footboard is supporting the mat of the schach on a different wall. Rabbi Yehuda says, if the sukkah cannot stand on its own without the support of the bed, it is puzzle because it's not as sturdy as required. Sukkah miduvleles. A sukkah has more sunlight than shade because its schach is uneven. Instead of being in one flat layer, it's split into two layers, right? And a sukkah whose schach is very, very sparse, very, but yet its shade is still greater than its sunlight. Kashera, in each of these cases, the sukkah is kosher, even though it's not the best. Hama uba kamin bias. A sukkah that's densely covered with schach, like a house, Ava pish enakochav nirim misocha kashira. Even though the stars cannot be seen from inside of it, is kosher. You can have a thick layer of schach. It's fine. It is preferable, however, that the schach be laid in a way that stars can be seen through it. But if you have a thick layer of schach, that's also good. Mishnah Gimel. If one makes a sukkah on top of a wagon or like a truck, kind of like they do with Chabad, or Sfina, or on top of a boat on the sea, Kashera is kosher because it's, despite its instability, it's still considered to be a dwelling place. But all in love, the yontif, and we can go up into it on yontif. Obviously, assuming that the truck is parked. If you built a sukkah on like a pickup truck, like Chabad does, sometimes, according to the Mishnah, you'd be able to go into the sukkah on yontif. If one makes a sukkah on top of a tree, or on gabi gamal, or on the back of a camel, it is kosher. He built the walls between the camel's humps and covered them with schach. It's kosher. It ain't all in love with yontif, but you cannot go up into it on yontif because it's usher to use a tree or the body of a living animal on yontif. The use of a chalamayit, gewaltig. Shtayim be'ilan va'achas b'dei adam. If two walls of the sukkah rest on the tree and one is man-made, both on the ground, or shtayim b'dei adam va'achas be'ilan, or two walls are man-made and one rests on the tree, kishera, they ain't all in love with yontif. The sukkah is kosher, but we may not go into it on yontif. So because you can't make use of a tree on yontif, and therefore you can use it on chalamayit, but you can't use it on yontif itself. Shalosh b'dei adam v'achas v'ilan. However, if the sukkah has four walls, three of which are man-made, and one rests on the tree, k'shera v'olim love yontif. The sukkah is kosher, and we may go up into it on yontif. Right, because it's not dependent on the tree. Ze'aklal kol shenatal ha'ilan v'chol alanu b'fnei asma. In every case where the sukkah is built in such a way that even if the tree was removed, it would stand on its own. It is kosher. We may go into it on yontif. But if it's not kosher by itself, if it's dependent on the tree, then it's possible to use on yontif. Gizachalamayit. Ha'os Mishnah Dalet. Ha'os Sukkah ben Hailonos ve'Ilonos defanos la kashera. If one makes his sukkah on a patch of ground between trees, and the trees are its walls, it is a kosher sukkah. Shluchei mitzvah b'tumim in a sukkah. People who are traveling in order to perform a mitzvah such as pidyon shvuim are exempt from the mitzvah of sukkah. If someone who's because the rule also the mitzvah put them in a mitzvah. If you're busy with one mitzvah, you're part of doing another mitzvah. Chulin u mishmasheya b'tumim in a sukkah. Cholin, not chulin. Cholin. Sick people and their attendants are pater from the mitzvah of sukkah. They're pater because they're uncomfortable in the sukkah, and their attendants are pater because they're engaged in the mitzvah caring for the sick. Now, which according to this, is a big cooler when it comes to hospitals. You have a patient that's in the hospital on sukkahs. Mistama, he's pater from a sukkah, depending on what his condition is, and those who are there with him. Well, it's very nice that the hospital put a sukkah on the ground. Some of them, according to the Mishnah, the family who was with him in the hospital room, would also be part of it because they're this is a home according to the Mishnah. Consult your local Orthodox rabbi for halacha l'maisa. We may eat and drink casually outside the sukkah, meaning like a small amount of food or drink as a snack. Since a person would normally eat a snack outside his home, he may do so outside the sukkah as well. interesting thing. Like you run a Chalamoy trip, usually you go on a trip with the family, like you're noshing on some cookies or some other things, but you have to go to such extremes to make sure that you only have like shahakol on on sukkahs, or you can eat them zonos out to the sukkah because you're on a trip with the family. You have to wait till it rains to have a sandwich. These are questions on not for today's share. Um, but food for thought. Mishnah Hey, Maisa Vevil Lo Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai lit Thomas Atavshil. It happened that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was brought a cooked dish to just to taste. Well, the Gamliel stay kosavos udli shamayim, and Gamliel was brought 2 dates and a pail of water, which are considered snacks. Amru halom sukkah, and they said, take them up to the sukkah. Which were on the roofs. Although these were snacks and not formal meals, they insisted on eating them in the sukkah. But when they gave it tzaddik food, excuse me, this is crazy. But when they gave her tzaddik food, meaning bread that was smaller than the volume of an egg, not the mappa, he did not wash his hands, but took it with a cloth. Yes, he wasn't able to get the water, so he wrapped his hands in a cloth. And he ate it outside the sukkah. And he did not recite because it wasn't after it. So, according to Tzadok, a person does not need to wash his hands for bread unless he's eating at least the size of an egg. Because he didn't wash his hands, he held the bread in the cloth for the sake of being clean. Here the Mishnah is teaching that it's acceptable for even a Talmid Chacham to eat a snack out of the sukkah, as per the halacha. This is not considered to be deficiency in one's observance of the mitzvahs. And there's a machlokas between the Tanaim whether the minimum amount of bread that requires because of muzzle is the size of a kazayis, or the size of a kibetza. And Rav holds of the opinion that the minimum is the size of a kibetza. Mishnah Vav. Rabbi Lezer says, Arba Sudos Chayav let Adam Lecho the Sukkah Achas B'Yom Achas B'Layla. The person must eat a total of 14 meals in the Sukkah over the course of 7 days of the Chag, one on each day and one on each night. The Chachamim say, the matter is no fixed requirement. If he doesn't want to eat any meals in the Sukkah, he's not required to do so. Can't eat after the Sukkah a meal, but and yes, chutz milili rishon shel chag b'vad, except on the first night of Yontif, which the meal in the sukkah is a chiyuv, kind of like is similar to the mitzvah, the matzah on the first night of Pesach, which is a chiyuv deraisa. It's a chiyuv to eat it in the sukkah on the first night of Yontif. Rabbi Eliezer later changed his mind and he agreed that only the meal on the first night is a chiyuv, and not the other ones. Rabbi Eliezer further said, Mishlo achal lili yonta harishon yashlim b'lili yonta achra. He says that someone who did not eat in the sukkah on the first night of the sukkah should make it up by eating extra food on any other day of the Chag, including the last night of Yontif on Shmini Atzeres. The Chachamim says, there's no matter, this has no compensation, you cannot make it up. If you did not eat a meal on the second or first night, you cannot make it up afterwards. Regarding a matter such as this, it was stated in Koheles that a twisted thing cannot be straightened and a missing thing cannot be counted, especially not on the last night, Shmini Atzeres, which is a suffix if it's sukkahs or not. You definitely cannot have that a lot to cover you for the first night, which is definitely sukkahs. Mishnah Zion. Regarding Misha Yerosh of Ruba Besukkah so someone's head and most of his body are inside the sukkah, but his table is inside the house, meaning it's outside the sukkah. Beishamai posted. Beishamai said this is possible, so you might lean over and eat outside the sukkah. Beisil Makshirin, Beisil says it's kosher because they're not concerned for this possibility. I'm on the hand Beisil Beishamai. Beisil said to Beishamai, Lokach Hayam Maisa Shachu Zikne Beishamai. Ben Hachurani. Did it not happen that the Chachamim of Beis Shammai and the Chachamim of Beis Hillel went to visit Rabbi Yochanan ben Hachurani? And they found him sitting with his head and most of his body inside the sukkah, but found his tables inside the house. They did not say anything to him protest. This shows that even the Chachmei Beis Shammai, they accepted this minhag. Beis Shammai said to him, Beis Shammai said to Beis Hillel, Mishum Raya, you're bringing a proof from that incident, really? Him Amrulo, but they did indeed say something to Yochanan in protest. They told him in Cain. They said, no, lo kiyanta mitzvah sukkah miyamachad. If this has always been your practice, you have not fulfilled the mitzvah of sukkah in all of your days. You've never done it in the way according to the din d'Rabbanan. That's a big problem. Mishnah Ches. Nashim v'avadim v'ketanim p'turim l'sukkah. Women, evet kananim, and minors are pater from the mitzvah of living in a sukkah. However, a minor who does not need his mother is obligated to dwell in the sukkah because he's old enough to be trained to fulfill the mitzvah. Let's say like kid that's like a newborn or 1, 2 is still running back to mommy, then he's pater. But if kid's like already 6 or 7, and when it come to chinuch, then certainly but it's older than that, he needs to keep the mitzvah. Maisa v'yada kalasu show Shammai Zakin. It once happened that the daughter-in-law of Shammai gave birth to a son. Upachas es hamaziva, and he removed the plaster from the roof over her bed. The Sikeh Hagabe Hamita Bishel Hakatan, and put schach above the bed for the child so that he would be in a sukkah. This is like literally when the baby is like just a newborn. Because according to Shammai Zakin, the chiyuv of chinuch applies even in the case of a child who's not aware of it. As soon as he becomes capable of performing the mitzvah, which in the case of sukkah requires only sleeping and eating, you must arrange him to do so. So therefore, according to him, you would bring the baby into the sukkah or build a sukkah over the kid's bedroom, and he sleeps and he's just fine, and he could still be yotzi the sukkah even though he's a newborn. It's according to Beis Shammai. Mishnah test, the lesson for today. Kol shiur siyamim adam osis sukosu keva obeso arai. During all 7 days of Sukkot, the person should make his Sukkah permanent residence and his house his temporary residence. He should eat, sleep, and relax in the Sukkah. And someone who owns beautiful utensils and linen should bring them into the Sukkah because he's got to live in the sukkah the same way he lives in his house the rest of the year. Regarding rain, Yardu Geshamim, Emasai Mutter Lifnos. If rain was falling, when does it become mutter to remove the utensils and leave the sukkah? Misha Tisrach Hamikfa Ha Mikafa. When it rains hard enough that a porridge made of split beans would be ruined. Your porridge is ruined very easily by rain. Um, and if it's enough rain falling, he'd be distressed and pater. Mashlu mashlu. The Chachamim described this with a mashal, with a parallel. The ma'adavat with the what can the matter be compared? The Eved Shabbat Limzo Kos the Rabbo to a servant who came with a pitcher of water to mix a cup of wine for his master. The Shafak Lokiton Alpana, but the master poured the pitcher in the servant's face. Certainly does not want the Eved to serve him. Similarly, when Hashem brings rain on sukkahs, and forces us the sukkah, he shows that he is not pleased with our avodah. That's quite a mussar to take. Anyways, that's the end of Perek Beis. We'll continue tomorrow with Perek Gimel regarding the halachas of Daled Minim. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.